Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Chuan only frowned slightly when he saw the 4 guards being killed. He did not lose his temper. Then, he looked at Lu Zhou and asked, I heard a rumor early in the morning that someone has killed Yu Qinshu. Are you the rumored expert with the surname Lu? Li Yunjing said in a deep voice, Chuan, are you not going to kneel when you see me? How dare you disrespect your master? Chuan ignored the furious Li Yunjing and only said, Your Majesty, you're still young and easily influenced. After this matter is dealt with, I'll naturally apologize to your Majesty. The other 4 Grand Dukes are on their way here as well. Li Yunjing wanted to continue reprimanding Chuan, but Lu Zhou raised his hand to stop him. Lu Zhou's expression was calm as usual as he asked, So, you're Chuan, one of the 5 Grand Dukes? If Chuan's men were around, they would definitely rebuke Lu Zhou for referring to Chuan by his name instead of title. Nevertheless, Chuan did not seem to take offense. He only crossed his hands and placed them on his back as he replied, Yes. Lu Zhou could see the hostility in Chuan's eyes, so he bluntly asked, You seem to be dissatisfied? Lu Zhou found it a little strange. The elders from the Sky Martial Court knew he was the one who killed Yu Qinshu, but they did not dare to voice their opinions at all since he arrived. Where did Chuan's confidence come from? Chuan said in a low voice, Dissatisfied? Do you know this is the Sky Martial Court? Not only did you kill the court master of the Sky Martial Court, but you have the audacity to come here. I really don't understand you. Indeed. Lu Zhou's actions were difficult for ordinary people to understand. After killing the head of the other party, he even came to the other party's house in broad daylight to make all kinds of demands. It was a little too much. Lu Zhou shook his head and said, I've always been reasonable when dealing with matters. Shouldn't Yu Qinshu die for trying to kill my friend? Whether he should die or not is not up to you to decide. It should be decided by the Supreme Court. Moreover, Yu Qinshu's mission was given by the royal court, Chuan said steadily and confidently as though he had justice on his side. A mission from the royal court? Lu Zhou turned to Li Yunjing and asked, You're the emperor. Did you give such an order? Li Yunjing hurriedly shook his head and said, Grandmaster, how could I give such an order? Chuan, how dare you defy the emperor? The emperor himself had opened his mouth to refute the claims, contradicting Chuan's words. Chuan's expression did not change at all when he heard Li Yunjing's words. Instead, he only scoffed lightly and said, Do you think you can threaten me just because you kidnapped the emperor? Lu Zhou stroked his beard silently as he listened to Chuan. Initially, after he killed Yu Qinshu in the Skywheel Mountain Range, he thought it would be enough to intimidate the Sky Martial Court Academy and the royal court. He did not expect there would still be people who were so ignorant and foolish. However, it was not surprising. The universe was big, it was inevitable that there would be 1 or 2 ignorant idiots. This was also good. He could gain something out of this situation. Chuan continued to say, If you didn't come, it would have been fine. However, you just had to come here. As the saying goes, you don't want to take the path to the heavens, but you chose to charge down to hell. You can't blame me for this. After Chuan finished speaking, he looked at the crowd before he sternly said, Zhou, as the second elder of the Sky Martial Court, not only did you not avenge your courtmaster's death, but you're even kneeling and begging for mercy from his murderer. You're a humiliation to the Sky Martial Court. Zhou kept quiet and remained kneeling on the ground. Chuan looked at the other elders from the Sky Martial Court and raised his voice as he said, What are you waiting for? Hurry up and activate the Sky Martial Heavenly Formation. Zhou remained still. Chuan sighed and shook his head. A bunch of trash. Then, Chuan raised his hand and waved it. Buzz. A buzzing sound rang from outside the hall. Soon enough, the ground trembled slightly, causing the furniture in the hall to shake as well. Even the building seemed to tremble slightly. Zhou exclaimed in shock, The Sky Martial Heavenly Formation? How do you know to activate the formation? Everyone was perplexed. At this moment, Sikong Baichen coughed before he interjected weakly, so it was you who snuck into the underground prison at night and injured me. Chuan scoffed. You're old and muddle-headed. You can't even differentiate day from night. I'm an important official of the royal court. It's my responsibility and obligation to kill those who harm the country. I serve the country righteously. What need is there for me to be sneaky? Sikong Baichen, if it weren't for Yu Chenchu's sake, I would have killed you with a kick. You wouldn't have had the chance to bark here today. Sikong Baichen frowned. You. At this moment, Lu Zhou turned to look at Chuan and asked, "Are you done?" His aura now was slightly different from before. No one dared to interrupt Lu Zhou. Chuan nodded. Yes, I'm done. It's a waste of my breath to say so much. Take him down. Lu Zhou waved his sleeve. Zhenghai was the first to make a move. His hand glowed with a golden light as he grabbed Chuan's neck. Chuan pushed his hand out immediately and both opponents' energies collided. Bang. Chuan was sent flying out of the sacred rites hall. However, he did not seem flustered. He raised his head and looked at the sky. He said calmly in a clear voice, "The formation has been activated. Since you've made your choice, all of you can stay here forever." You think you alone are capable of this, Zhenghai sneered. Of course, it's not just me. I've prepared a gift for you. At this moment, one after another, people appeared from the buildings in front of the hall. They were all dressed shabbily, and their appearances were unkempt. Their hair was messy, and their beards had clearly not been shaved for a long time. There were all sorts of people, blind and bald men, lame people, people with heads tilted unnaturally to the side, crazy and hysterical women, and old men with bent bodies. Chuan turned to look at these people who looked like beggars and said, "As long as you kill everyone in the sacred rites hall, all of you will regain your freedom." A bald man laughed maniacally. Chuan. You said it yourself. If you lie to us, haven't I already freed you from the prison? Chuan retorted. Another person laughed. Deal. It's a deal. The air outside is so fragrant. It would smell even better if blood were spilled. The sound of cackling rang in the air before someone said, "How about we tear off the heads of those people in the sacred rites hall? Hurry. I can't wait anymore." Upon seeing this, Meng Changdong exclaimed in surprise, "The members of the Sky Research Court. It's those lunatics from the Sky Research Court. Everyone, be careful." With this reminder, everyone grew nervous. In Great Tang, there was no one who had not heard of the Sky Research Court. After all, the current status of the Sky Martial Court was built upon the foundation laid by the Sky Research Court. Even the foreign tribes in Great Tang were wary and had kept a respectful distance from the Sky Research Court. At this moment, Chuan leaped on top of a building and said, "The Sky Martial Heavenly Formation has been activated. Your strength will be greatly boosted. Go." Zhenghai shook his head. He was about to make a move again when Lu Zhou's voice rang from behind him. Stand down. Zhenghai's fighting spirit was instantly put out by his master's words. It was as though someone had poured a bucket of ice-cold water on him. Nonetheless, he obediently returned to the sacred rites hall. In fact, Lu Zhou was looking out for his disciple. After all, this was the Sky Martial Court. It was not a bad thing to be cautious. Moreover, it was good to conserve strength if possible. There was no need to fight until the sky fell and the earth cracked if it was not necessary. Swoosh. In just a blink of an eye, Lu Zhou appeared in front of the sacred rites hall. He looked at the group of people as he stood with his hands on his back. The Sky Research Court? A bald man said in between bursts of laughter. Hey. Someone recognizes us. It's been so long, and there are still people who know us. Old man, since you have good eyesight, we won't kill you. Get out of our way. Lu Zhou nodded his head in satisfaction after confirming the group of people was from the Sky Research Court. On the other hand, when Chuan heard the bald man's words, he hurriedly said, "No. We have to kill him first. What are you waiting for? The members of the Sky Research Court stared at Zhou. Meanwhile, Chuan flew up into the air and looked around before he said, I'll return in an hour. Chuan was very smart. He retreated to the distant horizon. That bastard. He's using us to fight his battles. The bald man spat. The people from the royal court are all like this. Disgusting. One of the women looked at Zhou and said, Old man, I'm sorry. However, I have to do it for my freedom. With these words, the people from the Sky Research Court charged forward. Avatar. Buzz. A golden lotus that resembled a pond appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The 10 leaves were dazzling as they shone with a golden light. Then, a humanoid avatar rose from the ground and soared up into the sky above the sacred rites hall. In just an instant, its height reached 300 feet. Finally, golden karmic fire began to burn and surge around it. The members from the Sky Research Court widened their eyes in shock as they flipped backward and retreated. Then, they looked up at the avatar's head. An astrolabe appeared, and a birth chart lit up. Everyone looked at this sight in awe, excitement, shock, and disbelief when a beam of light shot out from the birth chart. Meanwhile, Chuan felt rather satisfied and happy that his plan was going smoothly as flew away. All of a sudden, he felt a sense of danger at his back. He quickly turned around and saw a sight he would never forget. Chuan saw a 300-foot avatar burning with golden fire and a golden astrolabe hovering at the back of its head towered above the sacred rites hall. At this moment, a beam of light was shooting toward him from the golden astrolabe. Chuan's eyes widened in shock and fear as his body trembled. His heart rate increased by 10,000 times as he exclaimed, 1,000. Whoosh. The beam of energy light pierced Chuan's heart accurately, leaving behind a neat and bloody round hole. Before Chuan died, his mind was blank. The 300-foot avatar with a golden astrolabe was reflected in his eyes as he dropped from the sky. He tried to breathe but discovered that he could not. It did not take long before his head slackened and he died. Meanwhile, the lunatics from the Sky Research Courts were petrified. The lunatics from the Sky Research Court felt the intense heat of the raging golden karmic fire. The heat wave swept across their bodies and their faces, it was blazing hot. Their minds were blank as though even their thoughts had been burned away. These people were once the top geniuses of the Sky Research Court. No one understood avatars better than them. Even if there was just a slight difference in an avatar, it would not escape their notice. A 300-foot avatar. That dazzling golden astrolabe, that 12 golden lines that resembled those of a clock, that 36 triangles that formed a pattern. Every line and every circle shone with a golden light and looked like a peerless treasure and artwork. Before the beam of energy light had shot out, the distinct birth chart had flashed brilliantly. The power of a birth chart. For words appeared in their minds, the 1,000 realms whirling. The 1,000 realms whirling avatar. Meanwhile, the experienced and knowledgeable Sikong Bachin, the elders of the Sky Martial Court, the Evil Sky Pavilion, the Cloud Mountain, the Thousand Willow Monastery, and the young and fearless Emperor, Li Yunzhang, were all in awe of this magnificent avatar. All cultivators dreamed of becoming a peerless powerhouse. Alas, many could never reach such heights in their lifetimes. Nevertheless, how lucky were they to be able to witness the appearance of a 1,000 realms whirling avatar. Then, everyone remembered the calm and composed old man, the owner of this magnificent 1,000 realms whirling avatar. At the same time, the elders from the Sky Martial Court, who were still kneeling, stiffened and paralyzed by fear. Their fear was not any less than the lunatics from the Sky Research Court. On the other hand, Zhenghai and Shangron's reactions were not as exaggerated as the others. They solemnly admired their master's avatar. Perhaps, due to the effects of Eternal Paragon, Zhou's 4 disciples were exceptionally serious when they were admiring their master's avatar. Their hearts were filled with longing as though they had just found a dream or an objective. In the west direction of Sky Martial Mountain, 4 flying chariots flew side by side at the same speed. A low voice rang from the flying chariot on the left. Grand Duke, it seems like Sky Martial Heavenly Formation has been activated. I'm afraid now that the formation has been activated, the Sky Martial Court will start a massacre. It seems like Elder Zhou was not exaggerating in his flying letter. The formation, coupled with the Sky Martial Court's geographical advantage, can gather an incredibly destructive power. Even Yu Qinshu himself wouldn't be a match for something like that. Someone sighed. Those lunatics from the Sky Research Court are really talented. It's unfortunate that they're too cunning and dishonest. Let's speed up. The formation won't last for long. With that, the speed of the 4 flying chariots increased by several folds. Lu Zhou's heart skipped a beat. There's no notification? With Yi Zhen and Yu Qinshu serving as examples, Lu Zhou, naturally, did not let his guard down. Lu Zhou ignored the petrified lunatics from the Sky Research Court and lightly tapped his feet. He flew into the sky as nimble as a swallow. He flew toward the horizon with his 300-foot avatar in tow. The golden thousand realms whirling avatar that shone dazzlingly and surging karmic flames mesmerized everyone. When they finally regained their senses, they ran out of the Sacred Rites Hall. Senior Lu, what are you doing? Are you going to flatten the Sky Martial Court? As soon as Zhou heard these words, his eyes rolled to the back of his head and his head lolled to the side before he fell to the ground. He had fainted. Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou. These weak people from the Sky Martial Court did not deserve sympathy. They had been domineering and bullying the weak for a long time now. Their prestige was deeply rooted in the people's hearts. Alas, how the tide had changed. Meanwhile, the lunatics from the Sky Research Court were still looking at the avatar. The Thousand Realms whirling avatar was like a sun that illuminated the entire Sky Martial Mountain. Its imposing aura could be felt in every direction. The birds and the beasts on Sky Martial Mountain flew off and scampered away in fear. Meanwhile, Lu Zhou flew near the chest of the avatar. One person, one avatar flew together. As Lu Zhou flew past, the disciples in Sky Martial Court around the Sacred Rites Hall trembled as they prostrated themselves on the ground. When Lu Zhou flew past the literary Stargate, some female disciples' faces turned pale before they fainted. Finally, Lu Zhou came to a stop above a semicircular pool before he looked down at the pool. The clear blue water reflected the magnificent figure of the Thousand Realms whirling avatar. Chuan, the Grand Duke of Fu, should have fallen here. Lu Zhou activated the power of hearing with his extraordinary power, extending the range of his hearing around the pool and into the pool. It was quiet. He did not hear anything out of the ordinary. Lu Zhou was certain the power of the birth chart had pierced Chuan's body. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for him to survive. At this moment. Splash. Lu Zhou heard splashing noises in the pool. The Thousand Realms whirling avatar straightened itself. The golden astrolabe began to spin. As long as Chuan appeared, the power of the birth chart would strike him. After Lu Zhou's earlier experimentations, he discovered the power of the birth chart was equivalent to having 4 deadly strike cards. Splash. Disturbance could now be seen on the surface of the pool. It grew more and more intense. All of a sudden. Ding. Killed a target. Obtained 1,500 merit points. He's a 9-leaf cultivator, but I don't even get a domain bonus? In the pool, where the disturbance was the most intense, a huge black lotus suddenly appeared. Then, it slowly descended into the pool and spread in all directions like tendrils on ink and water. Gradually, it covered the entire pool. Meanwhile, a few bold disciples of the Sky Martial Court who had come to the semicircular pool were shocked when they saw the Black Lotus. Black Lotus. The disciples gulped when they looked up and saw the Thousand Realms whirling avatar. At this moment, the pool suddenly regained its calmness. Lu Zhou brought the golden Taishu mirror out and shone it on the pool. Lu Zhou wondered to himself, he's not a puppet. Is it some kind of evil clone technique? In other words, the real Chuan had died a long time ago. Lu Zhou's birth chart had actually killed the Black Lotus cultivator who was residing in Chuan's body. This reminded Lu Zhou of the witchcraft in the Golden Lotus domain. Zhao Yu was once controlled by some witchcraft cultivator. Even Lang Luo and Zhang Yuanshan and the others from the righteous sect were controlled by witchcraft. Lu Zhou thought it was an incredibly annoying technique. Nevertheless, Lu Zhou's goal had been achieved. The other person's main body was not here, so it would be useless even if he dug 3 feet into the ground. At this moment, a humming noise rang in the air. The noise came from the barrier in the sky. Lu Zhou slowly turned around. Beams of red light shot out in the sky from different directions at this moment. Lu Zhou no longer paid attention to the semicircular pool. Instead, he controlled his Thousand Realms whirling avatar and flew up into the air. The Sky Martial Heavenly Formation. Nie Qingyun flashed and appeared in the air before he manifested his 200-foot avatar, trying to help. It had to be said that his 200-foot 100 Tribulations Insight avatar looked rather shabby compared to the 300-foot Thousand Realms whirling avatar. He cried out, "Senior Lu, watch out. It's the Sky Martial Heavenly Formation." At this moment, the beams of light converged at the huge stone pillar in front of the literary Stargate. Sikong Baichen's voice rang in Lu Zhou's ear. The Sky Research Court spent decades to construct this formation. There's a high possibility its destructive force is enough to kill even a birth chart master. Be careful, Brother Lu. At this moment, the Sky Martial Heavenly Formation had successfully completed its activation. Nie Qingyun shouted at the group of lunatics in front of the Sacred Rites Hall, "What are you doing? Why aren't you stopping the formation?" The bald man regained his senses and looked at the old man hovering in front of the Thousand Realms whirling avatar as he stammered, "Stop. We can't stop it." The other lunatics from the Sky Research Court regained their senses one after another and looked at the red beams of light that shot out from all directions in the Sky Martial Court. With the mountains and rivers as the foundation, and heaven and earth serving as a prison, this killing formation was created. A slight frown appeared on Lu Zhou's face as he withdrew his Thousand Realms whirling avatar. No wonder Yu Qinshu was so confident and did not leave the Sky Martial Court at all unless it was absolutely necessary. Lu Zhou continued to rise higher. Just as he was about to leave the barrier, the beams of light formed something like a spider web in front of the literary Stargate. The sky and earth changed as the wind and clouds met. Lu Zhou thought to himself that this time, he had no choice but to act ostentatiously. At this moment, the entire Sky Martial Court was in his field of vision. He turned to look unblinkingly in the direction of the literary Stargate. The sound of energies resonating grew louder and louder in the meantime. The elders from the Sky Martial Court looked at the old man in the sky nervously. At this time, Zhou He finally regained consciousness. He cried out immediately, "Stop it! Stop it!" Unfortunately, the Sky Martial Court elders were all aware that once the formation was fully activated, there was no way of stopping it unless one had the abilities to move the mountains, fill the sea, and cover the sun with a hand. It was futile. Who could possibly have such exaggerated abilities? Meanwhile, the other Grand Dukes of Great Tang finally arrived and quickly flew out of their flying chariots. They looked at the Sky Martial Mountain and the red beams of light that converged at the literary Stargate solemnly. The killing formation has been successfully activated. Who's that? Is he the expert who killed Yu Qinshu? At this moment, the huge rock in front of the literary Stargate suddenly shot out a towering red pillar of light toward Lu Zhou, who was hovering high in the sky.